Welcome back to the continuing adventures of the monad. We ended the last presentation by looking at the value of living your life and the way you meditate under the principles of as if. You may not be where you want to be yet, but you live your life as if you are already there. This contributes greatly to what is termed as the art of living. You may be living in a seething cauldron of other people's thoughts and emotions, but you have to develop the ability to remain calm and balanced at all times. Your goal is to unite with all life and to be present in the moment rather than remembering the past or expecting the future. This is easier said than done, but it should be a goal that you set yourself and try hard to work towards. Today's presentation starts by looking at two topics defined as qualities and abilities. Let's look at qualities first. These are attributes you hope to acquire. This relates to the concept of living your life as if. To help you achieve this, you set yourself a goal to meditate on a daily basis and practice this art of living through your meditation. What you achieve by paying constant attention to your thoughts and actions is to set up a series of complexes in your emotional and mental envelopes that replace the complexes that are already there. These old complexes fall away as you activate new programs of behavior. What are the qualities an esoterician wishes to activate? Examples would be purposefulness, a sense of proportion, trying to gain a wider perspective of all things you consider, trying to be inclusive rather than exclusive, an open mind, trying to avoid being critical, and finally, being able to focus your time and energy to achieve the goals you set yourself in life. It is really quite simple. If you wish to become a kinder person, study kindness in all its forms. If you want to shoot for the stars and realize the sublime humility of a saint, then study a mixture of tolerance, patience, and compassion. That explains the quality aspect. What about abilities? This is slightly trickier. We hope that methodical and patient meditation will engender abilities. What are these abilities in relation to meditation? What you are trying to do is to liberate the spokes of your chakras. In other words, to open them up. This, alas, is a process that remains esoteric and should not be attempted until one has been accepted as a disciple by the member of the planetary hierarchy. I know there are plenty of books, YouTube videos, and gurus that all run 5-minute courses that claim miracles. But according to Lawrence, we should desist from tampering with our chakras. They open when they are good and ready, and under very specific circumstances. Short-circuit this process at your peril. Let us return to something that has already been mentioned. It is important to meditate every day. Added to this was the admonition that it is not enough to acquire the knowledge of life. Knowledge must be lived in your life, otherwise it will not determine your thoughts and actions. Through meditation, you may acquire insights and understandings, but they remain latent once they are acquired and may not be easily accessible. What you need to do is to continually reactualize them. In this manner, they get automated in your actions and thoughts. The whole point in meditation is to try and reorganize your entire way of life. Up until now, you have been held hostage by your thoughts and feelings. You are trying to liberate yourself from the contents of these two envelopes. You are also trying to escape the debilitating results of the telepathic effects of public opinion, which you are constantly being bombarded with. Ever wondered why we are possibly on our 70,000th incarnation? If we do not work purposefully to change who we are and how we operate, we progress very little in each incarnation. All we seem to do is acquire more and more karma. Systematic and purposeful meditation is the way out of this quagmire. Remember, don't look back, regretting your errors. If you do, you afford these complexes your attention, and in this manner you strengthen them and make them impossible to eradicate. Avoid identifying with your envelopes, believing they are you. They are not. They are elemental essences undergoing their own involutionary awakening. They allow you to experience pairs of opposites, such as love and hate. But they do not define you. You activate these responses in them, and by doing this, you facilitate the awakening of their consciousness. It is a win-win scenario when you realize that they serve a purpose and do not represent who you actually are. Your task is to overcome the antagonism between your envelopes and yourself. It is worth repeating the axiom, what you feel and think, you become. If you accept this, then it is worth starting your day with a maxim, which is a general rule of conduct or a self-evident truth. Impress this on your memory so that it endures all day long. Another topic I wish to return to is the concept of living in meditation. From a mystic's point of view, there is a very strong desire to unite with God. This is a desire, so you know which envelope originates these feelings. For the mystic, this is living in constant prayer, but this life view is inconsistent with those of an esoterician. The esoterician focuses on the present. However, a disciple is taught to focus their attention in both the emotional and mental envelopes simultaneously. This is not easy, and the first step is to get control of your wandering thoughts and random emotions. One danger the mystic faces is that by focusing on the concept of God, they end up creating God as an elemental form. The mystic then has a relationship with this elemental creation and thinks they are interacting with the divinity. How do you escape such a conundrum? The first thing is to move the focus of your consciousness into your mental envelope. This happens when you reach the stage of compassion. You have now acquired a fairly good idea of the knowledge of reality and life. Your new task is to reactivate and revitalize the emotional attraction you experienced as you pass through the stage of the saint, 48-2. The focus of your attention switches from this elemental you have created to your guardian angel instead. You move from a state of constant prayer to a state of soul contact. Easy, right? Well, not really. You need rock-solid mental control to shut out the external vibrations that are pouring into your envelopes. In the past, you were defenseless against them. Now, you can replace these emotions and thoughts with your own. Your ultimate goal is to put your qualities and abilities at the disposal of your guardian angel. Thy will, not mine, is a good maxim. If this maxim comes to life, then your guardian angel finds the most effective way for you to speak and act in your daily interactions. So, we are now controlling our thoughts and desires and beginning to achieve soul contact through meditation. Clearly, we are making progress. We are still in our triad envelopes, but we are making contact with our guardian angels. Note the plural here. They reside in our, their causal envelope. We are slowly drawn towards the knowledge and unity centers of our causal lotus. In this manner, we slowly vitalize these centers and become subjectively conscious of them. Most of us are not here yet, but we can pretend to be, as if, and in this manner greatly speed up the process of achieving this hallowed state of being. I wish to end this presentation by reiterating that our thoughts are a reality on the mental plane. They are living, breathing objects called elementals. These thoughts are quite simply the strongest power we have at our disposal. If you are prepared to realize and accept this hypothesis, then it comes as no surprise to you that our thoughts are the most abused instrument that we, as humanity, have at our disposal. From this, it is easy to extrapolate that the contents of our thoughts are a very good indicator of our stage of development. In the next presentation, we will go on to look at some of the risks of meditation. Thank you.